Shalom and good evening, everyone. I'm Amir Tsarfati, and this is a live Mideast update from Connect here in the Jezreel Valley in Galilee, Israel. And we have so many things to talk about today. Some of them are pretty dramatic ones, but let's start with a prayer, shall we? Lord, we thank you so much that we are able to look into world events and into your word and find comfort and encouragement that you are not just in full control, but that you design things to be exactly the way you want them to be. And your entire plan for this world and for your nation Israel has already been foretold. We thank you now, and we ask that you will help us technically and also with the knowledge and the information that will be disseminated through this broadcast. And we ask that you will control all of these things and that it will bring comfort, encouragement, and much wisdom to your people. We ask all of this in the precious name of Yeshua. Amen. Shalom, everyone. Again, this is Amir Tsarfati. I'm live from Connect in Galilee. And boy, we have a very packed Mideast update today. We're going to start with the fact that Saturday marked the first day of the Muslim holiest month, Ramadan. For those of you who may not understand or know what Ramadan is all about, we prepared this for you. Ramadan is basically the 9th month on the lunar calendar of the Muslims. It is considered to be the holiest month for Muslims worldwide. It's a time of fasting, prayer, reflection, and community. And as you can see, there's a rundown of what it's all about. Fasting from dawn until sunset. They abstain from food, drink, including water, smoking, and other physical needs. And the fast is broken each evening with a meal called iftar. There's also the purposes is about spiritual discipline, self-control, and empathy for those less fortunate. And the duration is, of course, 29 to 30 days, depends which month it falls on. It depends on, of course, the crescent of the moon. And at the end of the celebration of the Ramadan, they are concluding it with the Eid al-Fitr, a major festival involving feasts, prayer, and gift giving. That's the Ramadan. And the funny thing is, almost everything I just described to you is being manifested in the exact opposite way. Whenever the Ramadan begins, the entire world, and mostly Middle East and Europe, are on the alert for terror actions. In fact, take a look at this. In Germany, for example, we see that Germany's Mannheim cancels carnival events after 2 were killed by a driver. And that happened yesterday. And if that's not enough, we know that in other cities in Germany, other festivals have been also postponed or completely canceled, such as in Cologne and also in other cities. Folks, it's not if, it's just when terrorists are going to use that month. A month that, again, is all about spiritual discipline, self-control, and empathy for the less fortunate, and yet all we see is so much violence. Now, Ramadan, at the end of every day, there is the iftar, and they keep telling you that there is famine in Gaza, and I keep telling you that this is a big hoax. It's a big, big lie. Take a look at the iftar yesterday in the streets of Gaza. They're all sitting along a long tables with lights and music, and they eat and eat and eat so much food. Folks, there is no famine in Gaza. There is no genocide in Gaza. In fact, Israel, during the night, helped taking wounded and sick children from Gaza all the way outside of the Gaza Strip And Israel provided the security arrangement to bring them to helicopters to be airlifted to Jordan to be treated there. That's not a nation that is busy with a genocide. And so they keep lying to you, they keep selling you all this deception, and I hope that you understand this is from the pits of hell and from the mind of the enemy. And that is, of course, the Ramadan. But now let's move to the big thing on the table, which is Gaza. You all know that phase one of the deal with the ceasefire and the return of hostages is over. 38 hostages return, and of which we know that 30 return alive and 8 return dead, among them the Bibas, kids, and mom. And in phase two is not feasible simply because phase two is calling for the end of the war and the complete withdrawal of Israeli soldiers. But the way Hamas interprets it is that Hamas stays in power, is not disarmed, and is going back to plot another October 7th. So, the special envoy of President Trump, Steve Witkoff, came up with a new outline. A new outline that's supposed to extend phase one and give us 45 more days that will extend all the way from now throughout the Ramadan and Passover. And in return for an extension for 45 days of ceasefire, Israel will receive 12 hostages alive and 18 dead, which is half of those that are still there in the hands of Hamas. Again, the idea is extending it for 45 more days, receiving 12 living hostages and 18 dead hostages, altogether 30. And at the very end, after Passover and, of course, the Ramadan, if an agreement is reached, we will receive the remainder of 12 living hostages and 17 dead ones. Hamas rejected it. In fact, Hamas rejects everything. Hamas even rejected the latest decision and the latest offer of Egypt that is being discussed right now. Look at this. Senior Hamas official Sami Abu Zuhri dismissed the Arab summit's proposed Gaza reconstruction plan, saying basically, we will not trade our weapons for reconstruction or the entry of aid. Basically, Hamas says, we're not willing to give up, we're not willing to disarm, we're not willing to leave this place, which means that everything that the Arab leaders that are meeting right now in Cairo, take a look, this is a big meeting, all of them are sitting all around, 22 Arab countries are represented, and another Arab sympathizer, the United Nations Secretary General, who, as far as I'm concerned, the chief terrorist of all, they are sitting there plotting how can we make sure that Hamas is not gone and the Gazan stays right there. Look, none of the 22 Arab countries want the Palestinians. None. They may show some signs of support, they may send some help, but they don't want the Gazans in their own place. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is that Hamas is rejecting all of this. Now, this is the big news. Israel, as far as Israel is concerned, we're giving them 10 days to decide whether they accept the new Witkoff outline or not. In order to pressure them to accept it, Israel already stopped all humanitarian aid trucks from going into the Gaza Strip. And don't worry, they have enough. They have over 20,000 trucks have already entered since the beginning of the ceasefire. They are loaded with food for at least 6 months. But Hamas is keeping all of it in their own hands, and they're selling it to the Gazans, and they're killing anyone who wants to take the food without permission. And so, basically, we will probably need more pressure. Another pressure point that we are about to use is cut all water flow from Israel to Gaza, which is, it consists about 19% of the water in Gaza coming directly from Israel. The rest is part of the desalination process that there is there. The next pressure point, if that's not going to work, is cutting the electricity to the desalination power plants, and therefore there will be no more fresh water for the Gazans. And if that's not going to work, Israel will resume air raids. And if that's not going to work, Israel will start limited ground operation. If that's not going to work, Israel just approved yesterday the drafting of 400,000 reserve soldiers, and we are going to bring to Gaza 5 maneuvering divisions. Right now we have 1, 5 of them, and we are about to destroy Gaza from the air. We are about to evacuate everyone back to the humanitarian aid, and we will not leave a single building standing. Now you have to understand, we are not afraid anymore to use bombs because we have enough of them. I mean, if the former U.S. administration had arms embargo and we had to think twice before we drop any bomb, now it's over. You know, we are talking about tens of thousands of heavy bombs that have been and are being delivered right now to Israel. We are by far having the friendliest and the most militant administration. In fact, to the point that the Trump administration wants the destruction of Hamas even more than the Netanyahu government. And you're probably asking yourself, and a lot of you are writing me, and you're saying, Amir, how come you guys are not as decisive and strong as Trump is letting you be? And the answer is very simple. We're still having 24 living hostages in the hands of Hamas and 25 dead ones. And we promise the families that we will not leave a single stone unturned until we bring them back. And so if there is a chance, even if we extend it 10 more days or 2 more weeks, that will give us more living hostages back, we're going to try and exhaust those options. Once Hamas will no longer be able to release, or no longer wish and want to release anyone, this is when we know that we've exhausted all options and the military operation is inevitable. And again, the operational plans for the next move in Gaza are far bigger, stronger, and decisive than anything we've done in Gaza so far. In fact, we're not even going to leave a single building standing. All of the Gazans will live in tents, and nothing will stand as it is right now. This is it. Now, it's in their hands. I mean, they can hand over the hostages right now, and the war will be over, basically. But if they choose not to, and by the way, I don't only accuse Hamas, I accuse every single Gazan civilian that knows where the hostages are and is saying nothing. You know, in Nazi Germany, there's a lot of Germans that collaborated with the Nazis, but many other Germans actually were hiding Jewish people. I mean, even in Nazi Germany, you found some Germans that were willing to help Jews. Not a single one to be found in Gaza. So that's as far as what's going on right now in Gaza. And you need to understand, 400,000 soldiers, reserve soldiers, is even more than what we drafted right after October 7th. October 7th, it was 320,000. Now it's 400,000. This is much more. Unprecedented number of reservists that are going to be called in order to do one thing: destroy Gaza completely. And let's move to Trump's plan to get them out of there and to start all over again. That place has to be leveled to the ground. And as long as Hamas is there plotting against us, and they are, by the way, we know that, we can see that. If you read on my Telegram, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, all of their reporters that live in Gaza, because they have a lot of Gazans that report to them, they all say, we are already preparing for the next October 7th. Make no mistake, you leave them back there, they're going to do it again. They don't only say it, they're actually preparing for it. So this is basically what we already have right now. And again, the Cairo summit today is a big fiasco because, I mean, everybody's sitting all around there, but Hamas is not there. Israel is not there. And everything that the people there are offering is only to contrast Trump's plan. And guess what? Even the softest offer, which is to reconstruct and leave all the Gazans there, is met with a refusal from the side of Hamas. And I guess the Arabs are going to learn very soon that Trump's plan is the only plan that is going to be feasible in Gaza. Now let's move to the Syrian front. Very interesting week we had, including this weekend. First of all, Israel is going deeper and deeper in Syria. Make no mistake, the Israeli Prime Minister declared that everything from Damascus south has to be demilitarized. At the same time, we decided that we are going to be the patrons of the Druze, and we will not allow Jolani's regime, that is a Sunni, radical Sunni, ISIS-style terrorist group, to harm the Druze. The Druze are allies of Israel. We have Druze in Israel, there are Druze in Lebanon, there's Druze in Syria. In fact, in Syria, in the southern part of Syria, there is a mountain called Jabal Druze, the Mount of the Druze. In the southernmost city of the Druze in Syria, Al-Sweda, last night, someone decided to even hoist the Israeli flag. Take a look at that. The Israeli flag in a Syrian city, right there in the heart of Al-Sweda. Now, later on, hours later, when somebody saw it, they decided maybe it's not a good PR for us. They took it down and they even burned it. But for hours, the Israeli flag was actually proudly there right above. Now, during the night, IDF penetrated deeper into Syrian territory to a town called Al-Mal. You're going to see it in a second. On this, you see, this is it, El-Mal. And we even put a roadblock. We're talking about 20 kilometers deep into Syria. And we even put a roadblock right on the main road between two towns over there. Can you imagine IDF soldiers in the depth of Syria monitoring who goes in and who goes out, just to make sure that there is nothing coming close to our border. If that's not enough, Israel is allowing the local Israeli Druze to donate supply and humanitarian aid. This Saturday, we saw these trucks driving in the hearts of the Golan Heights in Israel, proudly honking the horns and saying, basically, we are proudly delivering to our brothers and sisters in Syria humanitarian aid. So here it is. In Israeli territory, Druze are proudly escorting trucks of humanitarian aid into Syria to their brothers and sisters in Syria. And I want to tell you, folks, Israel, throughout the last week, attacked in Syria several times. We attacked in the northern part, we attacked in the southern part, we attacked near Damascus. Every place that we suspect that can be used by the new regime, and it belonged to the military of the old regime. In some cases, some even unconventional weapon storage, we destroy. And our troops sometimes are raiding some of those places with helicopters, and we're destroying those places. We're not going to allow ISIS on our border. We made it very clear to the Syrians. You can control your country all the way to Damascus, but from Damascus southwards, whenever it is close to our border, we are not going to allow any of the Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, HTS members showing their force and being armed and using heavy weapons and all of that. That's definitely not going to happen. Now, we also made it very clear that we do not want to see Turkish military in Syria. Israel already asked America to press on Syria, on Turkey, not to erect, military places in Syria. You see, Israel seeks to counter Turkey's growing influence in Syria. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu recently dispatched his military secretary Roman Goffman to Moscow for high-level talks. So we talk to the Russians, we talk to the Americans, and we make it very clear to the Turks, don't do that. By the way, Erdogan is not happy with how we take or how we basically protect the Druze. And look what he said, without mentioning our name, but he said, those who seek to benefit from the instability in Syria by provoking ethnic and religious affiliations should know that they won't be able to achieve their goals. We won't allow the partition of Syria as they imagine drawing maps. So, without saying Israel, he meant Israel, and without saying the Druze, he meant the Druze. But I don't care. I don't think anyone cares about what Erdogan is saying. Israel is making it very clear it's not going to happen. And by the way, after 1 year and 5 months, officially, Mount Hermon ski resort is open. Today, Israel opened it. Israelis can now go back and ski, or they can do whatever they want in that area. In fact, northern Israel is back to normal life. All residents are allowed to go back. All schools operate. All working places operate. The very heavily damaged buildings will be demolished and rebuilt. And everything that can be fixed will be fixed. And Israel is recovering. Northern Israel is back on its feet. And these are wonderful news to all of us. And if that's not enough, Israel is in southern Lebanon as well. And as you can see on the map, the 5 points that Israel is keeping are not just 5 points. I think that, as you can clearly see, we, without saying, without declaring, created a buffer or a security zone all the way 1 to 2 kilometers deep, and we're not allowing anyone to go beyond that point. That is the whole reason for those 5 commanding positions that we have erected. In fact, Nabi Berri, the Speaker of the Parliament, said today the following thing. He said, Israel has effectively established a buffer zone 1 to 2 kilometers deep inside Lebanese territory. And I say, you started a war, deal with it. You know, if you go to my Telegram channel, you will also see I posted there a picture of Mount Hermon, snow-capped Mount Hermon, that was taken from the ruins of southern Lebanon. It's all ruined there. It's all destroyed. A few hours ago, Israel attacked from the air a vehicle of a senior Hezbollah terrorist near the city of Tyre. And this man was part of the Radwan forces, the elite forces of Hezbollah. We are very determined not to allow Hezbollah to recover. This man, Khader Said Hisham, again, was a member of the Radwan force. Our intelligence is working extra hours to make sure that what happened before will not happen again. We will not allow Hezbollah to recover. In fact, a few days ago, we even attacked more places in the Hermel area in northern Lebanon, in the valley, right by the border with Syria. We're determined to continue and destroy every attempt of Hezbollah. And if that's not enough, New voices are being heard from Lebanon. Take a look at this one. The Lebanese Justice Minister, Adel Nasser, he says, when he was asked about signing a peace agreement with Israel, he said, Lebanon's best interest lies in neutrality and peace. Make sure you understand, these words could have not been said until recently. It was almost considered a treason to even use the P word, peace, when it comes to Israel. That's not the only one. Even in Syria, the regime ordered its media that is affiliated with them not to use the word enemy or Zionist entity, but to call Israel just Israel. That's it. I think everybody around us is getting used to a new reality where whenever there is someone that is rising up against us, we are not going to wait. We will eliminate him or eliminate a target on the spot. And we're not just doing it, we're doing it from their territory. You want war? We'll go into your territory and fight there. Whether it's Lebanon, Syria, Gaza, and even in the West Bank. And today Israel killed the commander of Hamas in the city of Jenin. And we're hunting the terrorists in the West Bank, in Judea and Samaria, one by one, every single day. Now, before I go on to tell you about, the tension in Europe following the disastrous Oval Office exchange between Trump and Vance and Zelensky, let me also tell you that a lot of you may not know that, but there is a digital war going on. When I say digital war, I mean that we are fighting not just on the ground, but also in the air. Satan is the prince of the air. We know that the enemy is using the airwaves to disseminate a lot of lies and propaganda. And I think that God provided us here in Behold Israel platforms to disseminate truth and biblical values. But I think that the more we analyze what's going on online, the truth is that conservatives are far less aggressive online than the liberals and the anti-Semitics and the pro-terrorists. Now, I'm going to ask you to do 4 very simple steps that are basically taking 20 seconds. First, if you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, then if you can like the video, if you can comment on the video, and if you can share the video. These are 4 steps. They take few seconds, but they change the whole game. You see, our feed is flooded with comments and dislikes by our enemy. We need you to like, subscribe, comment, and share so the algorithm of YouTube will understand this is important, we can promote it. And I'm telling you, it takes 20 seconds, but it makes all the difference in the world. Let's be proactive. Let me tell you something. We're very powerful. We're very strong. We have the weapon. I can give you ammunition. All I'm asking you is to use the ammunition in the weapon and just shoot. Lock, load, and shoot. That's it. So again, by liking the video, by commenting on the video, by subscribing to the channel, and by sharing, we can defeat them. Look, there's many more anti-Semites and anti-Israel people online. But if we do our job, our part, which takes 20 seconds, it's so easy to defeat them. So after I talked about that, let's talk about Europe. It's amazing what I've witnessed in the Oval Office there between Zelensky and Trump and Vance. And it's quite amazing to see Marco Rubio sitting there thinking that he was misled. He thought there is a deal. There was a whole ceremony waiting outside with some luncheon and declaration and signing and all of that. And everything exploded right there before him. And I don't think there's a point for me to give you my opinion, because let me explain why. We have to be very careful. First of all, you need to understand that throughout history, every country, especially when it comes to superpowers, always took care of its own interests. Okay? And we see the Russians taking care of their interests, the Chinese taking care of their interests, the Canadians, everyone is taking care of their own interests. Even the Europeans are taking care of their own interests. And I think that when somebody is elected on the platform of taking care of American interests, you cannot blame him when he is doing what he was elected for. But I will tell you that eventually Bible prophecy, and I love to quote what Reverend Clarence Larkin, an American Baptist reverend from, who was there in the late 1800s and the early 1900s, what he said. He said, Bible prophecy has nothing to say about the nations as such in their affairs with one another, but rather in their relations to Israel, the people, and the land. And Clarence Larkin then went on to quote from Deuteronomy 32, verses 8 to 9, and he says, when the Most High divided their inheritance to the nations, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the boundaries of the peoples according to the number of the children of Israel. For the Lord's portion is his people. Jacob is the place of his inheritance. So when you look into Bible prophecy, when you are a believer that wants to understand how everything that goes on fits into the Bible, I want you to understand, yes, there are a lot of conflicts between countries, interests, and power struggles. Russia and China, and what Trump is trying to do is break the axis of Iran, China, and Russia, and move Russia to another part, and therefore he can actually use Russia to now promote something completely different. I mean, everyone has his own endgame. But when it comes to Bible prophecy, the question you need to ask yourself is, where is Israel in this picture? Because Bible prophecy is not about nations and their own struggles between each other. It's how it affects the people whom he put right here in the heart of the Middle East. And when it comes to that, I want to remind you that according to the prophet Ezekiel in chapter 38, Israel will have to be safe, secure, and prosperous, and then a big war is going to come, led by Russia, and it will be joined by Iran, Persia, Turkey, Gomer and Togarmah, Libya, and Sudan. And this will be such a devastating attack. It will be so powerful that only God will have to step in and intervene and win this in a supernatural way, because there's no way Israel is going to be able. And at the same time, we also see that Europe is protesting, the Arabian Peninsula is protesting, America may be protesting, but no one is going to come and help Israel physically. And by the way, everything that is going on right now between the Zelensky regime and Trump and America and Russia, all of that is exposing Europe in ways that they have not been since World War II. NATO may even collapse very soon. America is imposing tariffs on European goods. We're talking about halting all military aid to Ukraine. I mean, today we just learned about that. We are talking about something big, and we are seeing that the Europeans themselves met in London right after the meeting in the Oval Office. Zelensky boarded his plane and went all the way to London, where he met with European leaders, and they called it a once-in-a-generation moment for the security picture of the continent. And The Europeans, on one hand, want to show a show of force and unity, but on the other hand, they understand they can do nothing without America. America is consisting almost 80% of NATO's budget. Europe is heavily relying on NATO for its own defense. Europe will have to start from scratch to build their own military forces because they were weak, they were small, because everybody relied on NATO. If America pulls out of NATO, if America stops funding NATO, Europe cannot, in the very short run, do anything. And that's why they're telling Zelensky, you have to make amends with Trump because he's still the most powerful person right now. But I want to tell you something. The Europeans are confused and they're embarrassed with all that is going on, but more so they're vulnerable, they're fearful, and they are looking and seeking for a new leader of the free world. That's at least some of them were quoted over the weekend. And I want to remind you, and I said that yesterday on the Q&A with Pastor Barry, I want to remind you that on one hand, from Western Europe, the Antichrist, according to Daniel 9, is going to rise. On the other hand, there is the Ezekiel war that has to happen before. And these two, the war where America will not be there for Israel, and the rise of the Antichrist from Western Europe, because America is not going to be there as a superpower anymore, both have to happen when America has declined. Something is going to happen. And I want to believe, and I want to pray, and I want to hope that it's not going to be an implosion due to some bad things, but I want to believe that it's going to be because of the rapture, because America is going to be more affected by the rapture than any other country on planet Earth when it comes to number of born-again believers that are holding positions in military, government, and in law enforcement. It's quite amazing to see all of that. In fact, speaking about that, even Elon Musk agreed that it's time for the U.S. to leave NATO and the UN. I mean, somebody tweeted that and he said, I agree. Now, Elon Musk may be the leader of X and of all of his other companies, but right now he's holding governmental positions. He is now a frequent visitor to the Oval Office. Mar-a-Lago is where he lives for the rest of the week. And just so you understand, when he agrees with something like that, it's something that some even suggest. I'm not saying that, but I heard some rumors that later on today in the State of the Union address, some even say that who knows, maybe Trump will announce something big in regards to NATO or the UN. I'm not sure, but if it's going to happen, I'm not going to be surprised if one of his key people in his own administration is agreeing with such a thing. We live in historic times, amazing times. I don't know if you understand how close we are, how biblical everything that we go through is, and how important it is more than ever before to be right with the Lord, to be eagerly waiting for his return. Just, I wanted to give you a short ministry update. A lot of people don't know that we have a website called beholdisrael.org where you can see there all the activities of our ministry when it comes to teaching around the world. You can find out exactly where I'm going to teach, what I'm going to do, where I'm going to travel to. And we are recording a lot of things, so you can also see the programs that we're going to air in very soon. And one of the programs, a brand new one, is Let's Connect. And the first Let's Connect is going to be premiered on YouTube tomorrow at 8 p.m. Israel time. I'm hosting Nizar and Rana Francis, two Israeli Arabs that found the Messiah. One came from a Muslim family, one came from a Catholic family, and from people who were far away, not just from God, but from even loving Israel. This is an amazing story. You really want to see how God changes people when it comes to loving, God and believing in Him, but also when it comes to Israel. It is unbelievable. I also want to tell you that next week I'm going to travel to record the audio version of my upcoming super important book, The Israel Decree. So I could use your prayers as I do that, but I want to encourage you, for less than a cup of coffee, you can get this, and it will change everything you know about the plan of God and the promises of God for Israel. And this is the best thing that you can get for anyone that is confused, whether Israel of today is the Israel of the Bible, whether the land of Israel today is the land of Israel that were promised, and whether the promises of God then are still valid for Israel today. Again, it's less than $7 on Amazon. Get it. Get as many as you can. Help us to get it out and give it to confused and brainwashed people. We really want the truth to go out. This is it, folks. Again, I want to remind you, like the video, subscribe to our channel, comment on the video, and share it with as many people as you can. Again, lock, load, and shoot. You have the weapon. I'm giving you the ammunition. Use it. Give it. Send it away. Spread it. You're super powerful. I believe that if we will be as zealous as those from the liberal camp, we can do so many things, and it will be amazing. Let's conclude with the Aaronic blessing. Okay? Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka, Yisa Adonai panav elecha, v'yasem lecha shalom. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance towards you and give you his peace. The peace that is surpassing all understanding, that can come from the Prince of Peace. He is the Lord of peace who can give you peace now and forever, here and everywhere. His name is Yeshua, and in his name we pray. Amen. Thank you. Share this video. Like, subscribe, and comment. God bless you, and shalom from Galilee, Israel.